Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we got for Hunter Rise Sunbreak, as we're just one day away from the digital presentation for the new free title update, giving us brand new monsters, new armors, and a whole heck of a lot of goodies. Today I wanted to go ahead and preview to you guys just one of the really interesting things that we are going to get our hands on August 10th. This is when the free title update is actually going to be dropping. I've kind of already gone ahead and confirmed that, and I discussed that in my previous video, since we have plenty of data pointing us in that right direction. So the 10th is the day for the free title update. And basically today what I want to go ahead and show you is the very first armor that we are going to be previewing that is going to be part of this free title update, and that is of course Silver Rathalos armor, something that a lot of people were kind of giving me pushback in one of my most recent videos where I spoke where Silver Rathalos and Gold Rathian are going to be part of the free title update. Was that I did get some pushback by some people, like, where are you getting the confirmation that Silver Rathalos and Gold Rathian are coming into the game? Like I mentioned before, people have looked into it, we know what's mostly coming, and today we're going to be showcasing pretty much the details for the very first armor in the Silver Rathalos armor set. And like everything, I like to source and give credit where credit is due. So first and foremost, the original image actually came to us from a user called NGA. I'm not necessarily sure where they are. I tried to look up the original link, but I couldn't necessarily find it. It was then re-uploaded on Belly. I believe that is like a Chinese YouTube equivalent by a user called sbear2. I'm gonna leave a link in the description below. And basically what you're looking at here is on the left side of the image, you're going to notice armor being highlighted by yellow. And then on the right side, this is pretty much all the skills that it has. This is basically the same screen that you get when you're at the smithy, where you're about to craft an armor and you get to preview all the stats. And what you're looking at here is the Silver Rathalos armor. So what I went ahead and did an English overlay of pretty much all the information that appears on the screen. You should be seeing that on screen right now. So the armor is actually called Silver Soul Beta as far as the translation goes. That's also the original name that it had back in Monster Hunter World as well. Now when it comes to the skills, this is where things begin to get extremely interesting, because you're going to notice that one of the skills is completely brand new. And we're going to be discussing that at the back end of the video. So basically the first skill that you see listed on top is almost cut off, but you do get to see it rather well enough for us to get a pretty good translation of it. You do get to see that it's critical boost 3 of 3. The second skill that is being listed is critical element 3 of 3. And notice that the element is in parentheses. This is very important. Windproof is the third skill that is being listed, is 3 of 3. And then the fourth skill is called Weakness Exploit, and then in parentheses, Element 3 of 3. Remember that Weakness Exploit right now is a pink icon for the actual skill. This one is Weakness Exploit blue with Element on top, in parentheses, just like Critical Element. The fifth skill is actually Fire Attack Boost, 3 out of 5. Then Constitution, 5 out of 5. Redirection, 2 of 2, so it's maxed out. And lastly, we have Maximum Might, 2 out of 3. So basically from the takeaway, this is a really elementally focused, crit focused armor set that is really going to be packing a wallop. I went ahead and I looked up the original Monster Hunter World version of this armor set just because I wanted to see how much it actually compared. I pulled it up from the official wiki page, I believe. And basically what we do get to see here is that originally had Windproof maxed out 3 of 3, Critical Boost 3 of 3, and Slinger Capability 5 out of 5. Of course, Slinger Capability is no longer available since that was just the Monster Hunter World skill that is not available here. So a lot of new additions came into the fold, a lot of different changes. Whether the actual elemental weaknesses and stuff like that actually changed, I cannot really necessarily speak to that. We don't actually get to see it on the preview page. And we also don't get to see the decoration slots. Remember, looking at the image from World, we do get to see that basically every piece of the armor had a 4-slotted decoration slot to be put in. So that was extremely powerful and very efficient. We don't necessarily know if that is going to be happening for this Sunbreak version of the armor. Now let's actually discuss here Weakness Exploit Element, because this is really going to be a game changer. And I think that if this is completely accurate, if this information that we're seeing here is going to be 100% true, and believe me, I'm hoping that it is, it's pretty much going to change the meta, specifically when it comes to elemental armor sets and elemental crafting. Now, one of the things that needs to be said about elemental damage is the fact that we don't actually get to see it. This is something that has been kind of like discussed multiple times. Even back in Monster Hunter World, this was something that a lot of people weren't necessarily too happy, since World was the first game in the series to actually display damage meters, essentially the way you're actually, how much damage you're actually doing to a monster, but you don't actually get to see your elemental damage. This is a hidden number that doesn't necessarily get displayed. What you do get to see is your raw damage, how much damage you're doing to the monster raw by just your weapon attack alone, and basically every other boost you have available, but your elemental damage is hidden. You don't actually get to see that. This has been one of the criticisms that a lot of people have added to the game. Added on top of that, weakness exploit as of exists and as it's constituted right now into the game, it essentially only raises your attack on weak spots by 50% affinity for raw damage. This does not actually include elemental damage. So that hidden damage that I literally just discussed a second ago does not actually get any extra benefited, damage essentially, or crit potential by just using weakness exploit. So the way they actually go about implementing weakness exploit element is actually going to be really interesting, and we don't necessarily know how it's going to work right now. I don't actually have an answer for you guys. What I have seen is a couple of theories being tossed around. I'm going to give credit to Helios Maggie on this one, who he actually posted a couple of really good ideas. The first one was basically, let's say that this skill is actually just simply going to replace elemental exploit, the rampage skill option. So there's already a skill, a decoration that you can craft for your rampage slot on your weapon, which basically is called Elembane Jewel 3. This is a 3-slotted decoration that says it slightly increases the damage exploiting a foe's elemental weakness. So basically all it does is raise up that hidden damage by just a little bit. Again, we don't get to see by how much, but we do get to see that it's most likely a percentage-based thing, 5 to 10%. I'm sure someone in the comments has a better understanding of that. So that was the first theory that was tossed around. The second theory is that it basically works like no different than weakness exploit as of right now. So like I just mentioned before, weakness exploit, all it does is raise your affinity by 50% for raw damage. So what this would essentially be doing is raise your affinity for elemental damage crits by 50%. So that hidden damage, whichever one actually decides to crit, we don't know if they're separate from an actual normal crit or not. I don't actually know that data, maybe someone does, but all it would actually do is raise that damage by 50% for that hidden modifier. That would be one way to go about it. And then the last theory that was thrown around is that basically this elemental version of weakness exploit would work like Mind's Eye, where it simply raises the elemental hit zones below a certain threshold by a certain amount. So it's basically just a flat boost of damage equaling to every single hit, no matter what, for elemental damage whenever you actually get a crit off of it. So those are just some ideas that I actually saw being tossed around as to how this is actually going to work. Again, this is a brand new skill. Capcom can actually go ahead and do whatever the hell they want with it. But there is a bit of a precedence already. We know what weakness exploit already does. It gives you percentage crit basically on whenever you hit a weakness spot. And we know how elemental damage already works in the game and has already worked in the game for quite a while. So basically, they cannot really tweak it too much. If they would have called it something else, then, we can actually go about, speculating more wildly. But for right now, we pretty much have a decent idea. One of three things could be true. They can choose to basically give you the equivalent of a rampage skill in a normal, typical skill that we don't necessarily even know is going to have a decoration equivalent. Presumably it would, since weakness exploit already has a decoration available to it. They can simply just do the elemental equivalent to weakness exploit and raise that critical damage for elemental damage on one specific hit, or they could just do a flat boost across the board whenever you get a critical, no matter what. So it could, go one of three different ways. We don't necessarily know. So that's basically all the information that I have for you guys. I'm just super excited to be able to see the actual presentation tomorrow. I cannot wait to see what they showcase. And of course, basically just having more information on what these armor sets are going to be providing us is extremely interesting. What this does say to me though, is that they're introducing new skills for just one armor. There's a really good potential that the Gold Rathian armor is also going to have a brand new skill added to it. Presumably, this is just me guessing and speculating on my end. And then maybe, of course, Nargacuga and Seething Basil are also going to have their own brand new skills and their armor as well. If they're choosing to add in more new skills into the game, and they're slotting them specifically to armor sets. This is something that we saw very much at the end game hunt when it comes to Sunbreak. Pretty much every monster you fought end game related had a brand new, non-afflicted versions I should say, basically had a skill tied to it. That some of them have decorations, most do not. So therefore you have to pick up some of those armor pieces to be able to get the best benefit to be able to have those brand new skills. But if you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.